as I say, welcome along and thank you for coming along to the new time. I've got an exciting project tonight, something I really love doing, and I hope that you will enjoy. So I'm going to turn you over. Hi, Lynette from Melbourne. Welcome. Gosh, it must be it's 3 hours behind us at the moment, isn't it, with daylight saving? So in the late evening for you, or late afternoon for you. So I hope you're enjoying the day and you've had lovely weather. You'll be coming into summer as well. I know over in Melbourne you get like temperatures into 40s, don't you? So that is really hot, but welcome. So I am going to flip you over now and we will get started. And let me just adjust that. So now that did that to me last time. You don't want to keep looking at me. 5:30, yeah. I was going to show you out there. I don't know if they've gone now. Oh, they have. The sheep were out there before. Oh, they're hiding behind that tree. And I thought it's a very Kiwi thing to see, isn't it? A few sheep. Right. Atlanta, 3 a.m. What are you doing up, Constance? My goodness. 3 a.m. Wow. Early riser, or you don't sleep, or now there we go, focus now. 3 a.m, goodness me. Mind you, I'm a bit like that these days, I must admit. Struggle with the old, the sleeping and get up and potter around. But yes, unless you're working, of course. What we're going to be doing tonight is some resist embossing, which I really love doing. Now I would have had that in the title, but I must have tried about 3 or 4 times to get on tonight, so I do apologize. Now we are going to start off with lime green. This is the Granny Apple green card. I call it lime green because it's a beautiful bright green, which I really like. Now I am going to be using in the pines. I have got so much use out of this set. I absolutely love trees, pine trees and that sort of thing. And not that pine trees are really a Kiwi thing, but I do like any kind of tree. So we're going to start off with just embossing, but using some embossing powder on here. Now this is just to stop any stray bits of embossing powder going around. I'm just going to give it a good... Now you can use corn flour or anything you've got at home to do this. It's just really to really dry out this card before we start putting the powder on. So I've got my Versamark. Right, and I am going to start with the skinny tree. Now with this stamp set you have got the 2-step stamping. So you've got the tree outline and you can colour in. Well, we won't be colouring in today because I'm going to use the green shining through, or coming through the embossing and the colouring with the green colour. Okay. So that's one skinny tree and one fat tree. So I hope everyone is well and everyone's families are well and coping with these changing times. I know I sort of say that every time I come on, but I do really think about everybody and what everyone is doing. I mean, it is such a scary time, isn't it? I've got 2 young grandchildren now, well, a 2-year-old and a 9-week-old, and you do kind of think, gosh, you know, what's happening for the world that we're bringing our children into now. But I guess they say that every time, don't they? I was watching something on TV recently with, it was a documentary, and he was saying, you know, the dilemma with our kids watching too much screen time, and he was interestingly saying that when people first started reading books, they were worried that the books were taking people away and that the youth were going to be damaged just from always reading books and, you know, not being outside and all that sort of stuff. And then it was chess. So always it seems to be in a generation there's something new that people get concerned about for the youth. But interesting enough, he was saying after 5 years old, there was no issues actually with screen time, no matter how long they were sort of on it. But I do think there's issues in regarding not getting out and playing and interacting with people on a personal level rather than on a screen. Now this is clear embossing powder. We're just going to sprinkle. I'm going to really generously cover the project. I'll just tap all that back in. Sometimes when I've powdered these so well, it's hard to tell what's powder and what's embossing powder. You know, my embossing buddy. Okay. That's pretty good. Okay, let's just get the heat going. So I do apologise in advance now. I'm going to give you a bit of a blast, but I will take this off screen just so I'm not too noisy. Though you can tell, I love clear embossing actually, because when it starts to dry, when it starts to heat, it just is amazing how it comes up. Mind you, I love embossing generally. I think it's quite magical. The first time you ever see embossing, whether it's clear like this or a colour, it was always fascinating. Such a magical thing to do, I think. So I do apologise. A little bit of noise there. So I've just stamped those trees along the bottom. Hi Helen, how are you? Being back at work this week. Hope it's going well. So that's using just a few trees to make it look a little bit like a forest. Now I'm only going to be using one colour. I'm going to be using Native Navy. Now I'm going to be using a dauber. So hence why I've got this down today. And I'm just going to start around the edges. Hi Gail, how are you? Been doing any building lately? Right. Bit back at work, so a bit tired. Yeah. My son yesterday, I just reminded him he's exhausted. He started back at school this week. Going to school in his wheelchair, and he is exhausted, absolutely exhausted. So yeah, it's amazing. 14-year-old boy, absolutely tired, comes and crashes on the bed when he gets home. Very lucky because ACC here in New Zealand pays because he had an accident. They pay and he gets picked up by a company called Driving Miss Daisy. And they come and pick him up every day and take him to school and pick him up and bring him home again. So very blessed with that. Because we live a bit of a distance from his school, it would be a bit of a pain to have to drop him off and pick him up again. Right, so I'm lots of sheds, not much crafting. Oh, that's no good. Got to get a balance scale. He is got 2 more weeks in the cast, and then he goes into a moon boot, so he can then start putting a little bit of weight onto his foot on occasion, not all the time. So that is going to be exciting. He is going to school in a wheelchair, and can you believe it? The lift at school is not working. I sent an email on Tuesday, and yeah, that's a bit sad that the lift in the school is not working when he can't get up to the classrooms in the top levels. Very disappointing actually. Now I am just starting, when I bring the colour on, I'm starting off and coming on just so I don't get blobs, though because this is quite dark on the edge, you probably wouldn't tell anyway. Gosh, I'm wearing out my dauber. and I am just going to build it up. I want it darker around the edges, and I will sort of leave a lightish area in the card as well, which just makes it look quite magical, I think, having a sort of lightish area on your card. That's the beauty with this sort of thing, is just being able to build up the colour slowly. So you always build it up, not too much at one time. And don't worry, it looks as though you can't see the colour, but I will show you what you need to do when you finish putting the colour on. Whoops. So it is a little bit monotonous watching me do this, but it doesn't take too long, I must admit, to add the colour. And I am getting lighter now, so not adding as much. Now I do tend to use the daubers. I tend to find I can put colour on a bit more even with the daubers myself. I know some people use the sponges really, really well. Right, I'm just going to make sure that the edges are even. So really this card, the Emboss Resist and this part of it is just the main feature. So I don't want to add a big bit of ribbon or anything like that. So I'm just going to keep that part quite simple. So you can keep going as long as you like. I'm sort of wanting to make this look a bit like a night sky. So I will keep it a little bit, I don't know if you can tell, it's sort of a bit, not blotchy, but just you can see the green coming through on those areas, but around the edges it's quite dark. So now, if we just use, I'm just using a tissue, and if you just run over, I'm intrigued, what are you making? I'm making a In the Pines forest scene. It's Emboss Resist. So I have clear embossed the trees onto some granny apple green. I'm just going to go a bit dark around there. Onto some granny apple green. And yeah, pretty, I'm just making a mess actually. Just adding a whole lot of ink to the card. But I just find this such a great technique, Emboss Resist, I must admit. But then you just give it a wipe and those trees, they just come up. See the beautiful green from using granny apple green? It just really comes up through the navy. So I've used Night of Navy on the cardstock. So it really does, it doesn't look much when you start, but it really does come up fantastic. Because you've clear embossed, that colour of the card underneath stays underneath that embossing. So absolutely gorgeous. Now I'm going to show something different to do with your glimmer or shimmer paste, I should say. Now I always keep one of these Wink of Stella pens that has sort of run out or got near the end to use with my shimmer paint. Whoops! But you don't do that. So I'm just going to put a little bit on here, not much. Don't want it to be too deep. Oh, thank you, Helen. Yeah, I'm really pleased how I used a really bright green and sort of thought initially when I first did it, thought, oh, it's going to be too bright, but it does come through well with the Night of Navy. Now I'm just using the dotty stamp that's in there, and I'm just going to lightly dip the stamp into the glimmer paint. Now I'm just using a shimmer paint, the Frost White, and I'm just going to, now don't press too hard, I'm just going to add some sparkle, some snowflakes, onto this card. Just generally around the place. Turn the block around so that the pattern's a little bit different. But it looks like there's a bit of snow falling. Oops. On the trees. So I don't know if you can see that down there. That is the glimmer, the shimmer. I keep calling it glimmer. It's the shimmer paint, and it really does make it look as though there is beautiful snowflakes falling down. Okay. Now I'm going to pop that on to, I'll just wipe my hand, I've got stuff everywhere. I'm going to pop this onto, Mossy Meadow. Just going to glue that on. So did you have kids' classes in the holidays, Helen? I'm sure they went really well. I haven't been brave enough to do kids' classes. Okay, I'm just trying to avoid touching the, I would usually give that a couple of minutes to dry. I don't want to smudge them. The shimmer paint does take a little while to dry. So I'm being very careful. And bit of glue, and I'll pop that on. Now it's just a thick Whisper White card base, cut at 21 and 14.8. So once again, I'm trying not to, with Alan, great fun. 14 kids! Wow, you're so brave. 14 kids, that's amazing. Yeah, amazing. Very impressed. Okay, so I'm just going to use one of these trees with Mossy Meadow and stamp inside. You're very brave. So just using that inside, and I'd put that on the envelope as well. So of course we've got to finish off with a bit of ribbon, and now I have pre-done this because I knew this would take quite a bit of time to colour, and I have stamped this. This is in this here, Season's Greetings. So that was the dotty stamp, and I've just stamped that in Mossy Meadow, and I've just cut a little bit of the Mossy Meadow paper to add to here, and I think I'm just going to stick that under there a little bit. And then the other thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to add, now this is the Mossy Meadow ribbon that's in the holiday catalogue. That's part of the Heartwarming Hugs suite. The Mossy Meadow ribbon. And of course we've been using In the Pines stamp set, which I have got a lot of use out of. So I might put that about there. Going to put a little bit of tape on that. Right. So just a little bit of double-sided tape, and get my Come Pick Me tool. Oops. Okay, so put that about there. So that's just a bit of the ribbon, and I will put these up on dimensionals. Just a couple. So when I looked at where to put a ribbon, I actually thought if I put one across there, it was going to block the trees, and it took me ages actually to decide where I wanted to put the ribbon. Okay, Now I'm going to finish off with some of these beautiful Diamante gems, which I haven't actually used for absolute ages. But sometimes that is all you need. So, start that one there. So the colouring in is probably the longest thing to do, the blending, but really it doesn't take that long, and it's so quick and easy, this card, to do, really. It's just embossing, clear embossing, and working the colour in, and that's really quite simple. So if anyone wants to know anything more about this card, any of the products I've used, please do send me a message. Oh, thank you, Lynette. I'd love to hear from you. As I say, any questions, please send me a message. Any ideas of anything you'd like to see done, any techniques, I'm more than happy to have a go, especially if it's something I haven't done. I always like to try something new. So I hope you enjoyed, and have a fantastic week, everyone, and I will look forward to seeing you all again next week. Bye.